Let's continue with diagnosis according to pathogenic qi. For today, we discuss about invasions of exogenous wind. Wind is a very young form of pathogenic qi. Wind is the prevailing qi in spring, although invasions of wind are not exclusive to this season. Both wind and spring do have a powerful resonance with the wood phase and its dynamic yang energy. Wind's yang nature is seen in its mobility and speed. Wind has an expansive and thereby spreading dynamic. Imagine a pile of leaves lying in a heap on the ground. Heat, dampness, and cold will only result in the leaves drying out, becoming heavy and soggy, or freezing into a solid mass. But a gust of wind will spread them in all directions and set them in motion. This ability of wind to spread things apart enables it to penetrate through the weight chi, while drawing other forms of pathogenic chi into the body. This is the reason it is said that wind is the spearhead that conveys other forms of pathogenic chi into the body. This is very important for yin forms of pathogenic chi, such as cold. Cold has a contracting nature and therefore results in the pores in the skin contracting and closing, blocking its entry. Wind can spread open the pores and thereby lead cold through the skin and into the body. This is similar to a drafty cabin in winter. If the temperature is sub-zero outside, but it's completely windless, it is possible to warm the cabin with a small stove. If, on the other hand, the temperature is 10 degrees centigrade, it is still difficult to keep the cabin warm if the wind is blowing outside. This is because the wind will drive the cold into the cabin through the cracks in the walls. Wind's yang nature means that it has a tendency to affect the head and the upper parts of the body, as well as the outer aspects of the body, that is, the Wei Qi aspect. Wind's dynamic yang nature also means that the symptoms and signs that are manifesting can have a tendency to migrate from place to place and to be variable in character. This is characteristic of the form of being known as wind beam, where the pain in the joints constantly changes character and location. Wind's yang nature also manifests in a sudden onset of its symptoms and signs. Wind creates movement because it is yang. Wind can often manifest as tremors, spasms, and itching. Extreme stiffness and paralysis can also be a symptom of wind because when something vibrates very strongly and quickly, it becomes stiff and rigid. Wind has a resonance with the Julian aspect. This is shown by people's eyes watering when it is windy. Both the eyes and tears relate to the liver through the five phases, as does wind. Internally generated wind can arise as a consequence of liver imbalances. Many of the symptoms of internally generated wind and exogenous wind are similar, but the etiology and the treatment principles will be very different. The liver is not the only Zhang organ to have a relationship with wind. The lung is easily affected by wind, as it is the only Zhang organ that is in direct contact with the environment outside of the body. The lung also controls Wei Qi. This means that the invasions of exogenous wind will often affect the lung and its sensory organ, the nose. Furthermore, if there is lung qi deficiency, Wei Qi will also be deficient and the person will be easily invaded by exogenous wind. Let's take a look at invasions of exogenous wind. The patterns seen where there is an invasion of exogenous wind are wind cold, wind heat, wind dampness, wind water, wind cold damp B. An invasion of exogenous wind will nearly always be an acute pattern. The exception of this is wind B, which will often have developed into a chronic pattern. Invasions of exogenous wind will generally be relatively short-lived. The pathogenic chi will either be expelled again or it will penetrate deeper into the body. Now let's talk about its etiology. The invasion is due to there being a virulent pathogenic chi, which has been strong enough to break through the defenses of the body's wei chi. This could be when a person has been exposed to climatic wind, but it can also be that they have been exposed to an artificial indoor climate such as air conditioning. Furthermore, some allergens and viruses can manifest as exogenous wind pattern. There can also be an underlying Wei Qi deficiency, which means that pathogenic wind does not have to be that strong to be able to break through the defensive Qi. For the symptoms and signs, the specific symptoms and signs will depend on the individual patterns. Typical symptoms and signs that are seen where there is an invasion of exogenous wind are acute symptoms that arise suddenly, stiffness, numbness, tremor, and itching or tingling sensations in the skin, pain in the joints, pain that migrates from place to place and is variable in character, headache, aversion to cold and wind, a disturbance of the functioning of the lung, resulting in coughing and sneezing, and a superficial pulse. Thank you for listening.